Hey, what's up? It's The Field with Preston Highfield. Thank you all so much for listening, liking, and subscribing on YouTube, Substack, Apple, and Spotify. Obviously, college football season is over, but still plenty of college football nuggets to discuss. Coming up on this pod, the Civil War football game has been postponed until 2028 now. Give my thoughts on why that might be, if it will continue at all, and when it will continue, and why both sides feel the way they do. Obviously, USA Hockey winning the gold medal on the men's side and the women's side, both defeating Canada, both 2-1 in overtime. Watched both of those outstanding hockey games, the women on Friday, the men Sunday morning. I was all in all weekend. Watched Miracle on Ice, the 1980, Curt Russell, big shout out, one of the best movies ever, in my opinion. Watched that on Saturday night. Woke up first thing Sunday morning, brewed a huge pot of coffee, and watched the Americans take home the gold medal on the men's side as well. So we will talk a lot about that, a lot of the discourse about that. Not going to get into politics or anything like that. Certainly don't understand the folks that do, but we will break that down as well. And finally, a little note on Cignetti making $13 million a year, well-deserved and underpaid, and any other college football nuggets that come up at the end. Let's start with the gold medal match. So USA Hockey pulls off the double gold medal. The women win on Friday, 2-1 over Canada in overtime. The men win Sunday morning, 2-1 over Canada in overtime. Just amazing. I mean, just cinema. You know, obviously first gold medal win for the men since 1980. It'd been 46 years. On Saturday night, I watched Miracle on Ice, Curt Russell. Tonight, we skate with them. Tonight, we stay with them. And tonight, we're the best hockey team on earth. Mike Ruzioni, Winthrop, Massachusetts. Who do you play for, Mike? I play for the United States of America. It's all gentlemen. Just chills. The entire movie is just chills. Curt Russell's incredible. Ruzioni, good to see him in the actual building there in Italy for the gold medal match. America was close in 2010. Sidney Crosby scores the golden goal in overtime. I remember watching that game as well. There's just nothing like Olympic hockey. And I've always said, you know, I'm not going to pretend to be some massive hockey guy. I do enjoy watching the playoffs, but I've always said the sportsmanship in hockey is so commendable. You watch the finals, and like last year, McDavid lost, but he was named the finals MVP, and you know the captains trot out there first post-match and shake hands, and you know just the sportsmanship of it all is so classy. There's not nearly as much ego. Like, yes, there are a couple of players who are notoriously the best players in the world. You know, Connor McDavid, Nathan McKinnon, Austin Matthews on the American side. Now the Hughes brothers, of course, given what they did. By the way, Quinn Hughes scoring the winner against Sweden in the quarters, and then Jack, obviously, the golden goal in OT against Canada. But I just love the respect for one another, the respect for your team. Like, instantly, Jack Hughes, after scoring the golden goal, like moments later, gets interviewed. Like, Jack, what was it like to score the golden goal? And he didn't even bring himself up. He was basically like, you know, Connor Hellebuck was by far our best player tonight. Huge shout out to him. He really won this. Like, for him to say, like, immediately compliment another teammate and raise him above him. To say, like, oh, Connor's by far our best player tonight, which is probably true, right? I mean, just a truly sensational performance. The stick save was unreal. So many other saves. And 17 had a breakaway, unreal. Shout out to Nate McKinnon for completely smoking that open net earlier in the match. You know, it was just so it's so refreshing, like, to listen to these hockey guys talk and also watch them demonstrate that level of sportsmanship and also unselfishness. And there's just, you know, and listen, I like the NBA a lot. Like, I'll watch the postseason. There's so much ego in the NBA. There's so much my personal brand. What does my personal brand look like? Like, we all know what it is. Like, all the superstars are so protective of their own personal brand, and it's just so it's so deflating and annoying and just not sportsmanlike to only be kind of concerned about your personal brand. And it's not like that for every single team, but certainly most of them in the NBA. But in hockey, man, it's so much about, your team and respecting, in the case of the Olympics, respecting the country and fighting for the country. And you just felt like when the players were out there, all of this was so much bigger than them, right? It was winning it for the 1980 team who inspired them. It was winning it for Eruzione and the generation who had come before them. It was winning it for the 2010 team that nearly won it. It was winning it for the future generations of American hockey players who were growing up in Michigan and Minnesota and Boston, which it was funny. Like I kind of knew that, but I was a guy from Oregon. Like hockey is religion in Minnesota and parts of Michigan and Boston. Like it was funny seeing, like, looking at our roster and seeing like almost every player. We have like one guy from Arizona. The rest of the team's from Michigan, Minnesota, and Boston for the most part. But it's just, I don't know, man. It was all like the sportsmanship, the like how great you felt watching that as an American. Like I couldn't sit down the entire time. I was standing up the entire time. I mean, you just felt like so proud, so prideful to be American that day. And sports are amazing. Sports bring the world together. Sports bring us together. Sports bring people from different backgrounds together. Even if you're not a hockey fan or a sports fan, you're cheering on your country that day because you're proud to be associated with something bigger than yourself, something that doesn't divide people. It brings people together. Obviously, in an age where it feels like things are getting divisive, sports brings people together, and that's what this did, man. And huge shout out to Jack Hughes for the golden goal and Connor Hellebuck for just an unreal game. The stick saves, couple glove saves. I mean, how many goals did he save? 45 or something, 44 or 45, something like that, shots on goal. Dude, and by the way, I wanted to shout this guy out. Charlie McAvoy, our defenseman, 25, plays for the Bruins. Dude, there was a play in the game where Hellebuck had to hit the deck to try to make a save. A rebound happened, another shot on goal happened, and McAvoy jumped behind Hellebuck in front of the net and saved it, like, with his shoulder. That was an incredible play. That was like the most unsung play of that Olympic run because no one seems to be talking about it, but that play literally saved a goal. I mean, he blocked it with like his shoulder when Hellebuck had to hit the ice. Like, that was an unreal play. I wanted to shout out McAvoy for that. Also a huge bravo to Kenny Albert. I mean, just an insanely talented play-by-play voice. I can't tell you how tough it is to do hockey. I did probably 15 hockey games in college as a play-by-player for Oregon Club Hockey. I do a lot of play-by-play, a lot of football, basketball, volleyball, softball. By far the hardest sport to call that I've ever called, I should say. And I've also called soccer. By far the hardest sport is hockey. Just with how quickly you have to get names down, how quickly the puck is moving. Obviously, there's 10 different guys on the ice plus the goalies, but so many line changes that can happen. And, like, you have to be so dialed in and also tracking the puck. You just have to be so dialed in and also bring the appropriate level of excitement, the appropriate level of calls. Of course, understand the storylines. And yeah, you got to do all this in basketball too, and every sport really. But it was just, I don't know. It was just like Kenny Albert was just so damn good. Like, obviously, Al Michaels, the GOAT, on the call of the 1980 finals. Do You Believe in Miracles with the semifinals and then the finals. But I was just so happy that Kenny Albert was on the call because he was just so damn good and didn't make it about himself either. Like, I thought he was, we all know those play-by-play guys that make it about themselves. Kenny Albert does not do that at all. He was just, God, he was amazing. What a run for NBC Sports. What a run for Mike Tirico, who had that wonderful closing line, after the match to lead into the closing ceremonies, just discussing how sports bring us together, how the USA team in the gold medal round was inspired by generations before them, how they won it for the 1980 guys and the 2010 guys, and hopefully they inspire the next generation. It was a wonderful, what appeared to be unscripted close on television, on live television. I can't tell you how hard that is to do as someone who's been on live television for a handful of years. So just shout out to Mike Tirico as well. Just did an amazing job. Amazing job. And NBC Sports, man, what a run. Obviously, it's a little bit, I guess I should say fortunate that they had the Super Bowl and then the Winter Olympics back to back. But amazing job by NBC Sports, who obviously has a large part of the media role now for the NBA, do Monday and Tuesday night games, the Coast to Coast Tuesdays. Was watching that last night with the Trailblazers making it on NBC/Peacock against the T-Wolves. Anthony Edwards giving folks buckets at the Moda Center. Portland actually hung in there. Jaden McDaniels and Anthony Edwards a little too much in that game. But just amazing run by NBC Sports as well. I also want to say, like, in closing, I didn't really understand the hate from people towards Canada. There was a lot of, like, some of the biggest personalities on the internet. Listen, like, the Barstool guys haven't been funny for a while now. No hard feelings. They haven't been good for a while now. But like the general hate towards Canada from them, like, just constant tweets about, like, ha 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 Canada, suck our dicks, like, ha ha ha, like, that's the only sport you have and we're better than you at it. Like talk about, like, someone who's never been there before, like, not winning with any class at all. Again, like, those, I haven't had respect for those guys for a little while now, no offense, but that was just another example of, like, what are you guys, like, we win the gold medal match for the first time since 1980, first time in almost half a century, and one of the very first things you do is start trying to bash on Canada online. Like, you got to be shitting me. Like, there's no world where my brain would be like, oh, dude, you know what? We just won the gold for the first time in 50 years. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to get on Twitter and start ripping Canada. That sounds good. Like, I just don't, no respect for that, no class. And anyways, anyone who went straight to Twitter to rip Canada, I was like, dude, what are you guys doing? Like, why can't you just enjoy this and talk about the awesome story that is Jack Hughes, the awesome story that is Quinn Hughes, the awesome story that is Charlie McAvoy, the awesome story that is Connor Hellebuck. What an amazing job NBC Sports has done. Just the sportsmanship, Team USA, Go USA. Like, to have to try to rip Canada down in the process, just didn't understand it. Obviously, especially because Canada was maybe better in that game. They didn't win. Didn't deserve to win because they didn't win. But they were tremendous in that game. So just, dude, an amazing hockey match. Feel so proud to be an American, and just shout out to NBC Sports, man. It was all amazing. Oh God, it was all so good. Shout out to the women as well. I watched that match as well. Knight with the rebound goal, the partial deflection goal to even tie it with, like, whatever that was, 90 seconds, 2 minutes, something like late in that game to even send it to OT in the first place was insane. Obviously, with the USA, the whole Johnny Gaudreau tragedy, him and his brother getting hit by a drunk driver while they were riding bikes, I believe, on the day of their sister's wedding, or something along those lines. That's just so tragic. And his kids were there, and his widowed wife was there, and they brought the kids onto the ice and took the pictures with them. That was, talk about playing for something bigger than yourself. That was sensational as well, man. That can't be forgotten at all. I'm glad that was praised for sure. Skating around the rink with his jersey was just amazing. God, sports are just the best, man. Sports are just the freaking best. And that was basically peak sports, man. That just felt amazing, man. Go USA. Okay, so the Civil War football game will be delayed until 2028. Delayed, postponed again, however you want to say it. This is reporting from the Oregonian, the O. This wasn't some massive, like, PR statement by either university. I don't think they would want to do that. But basically the reporting is from the Oregonian. They spoke with Oregon State AD Scott Barnes. I've interviewed him a handful of times in my local TV days. And Scott Barnes tells the Oregonian, quote, "We weren't able to do that. That was on our side. We've had some adjustments we've needed to make, most recently on our side to get through some things. We're close to a 4-year series that we're going to be announcing." That's pretty damn cryptic. we weren't able to do that. That was on our side. We've had some adjustments we've needed to make to get through some things. What does that mean? We've had adjustments we've needed to make to get through some things. This is sounds like a CEO speaking to like a 50,000 employee company. Like what is that? I don't know what that means. Obviously Oregon State is now in the Pac-12. I was looking at their schedule. They do have Houston and Texas Tech next year in the non-conference, but then they also have Montana and UTEP. So keep in mind, and this is where my thought first went, Oregon State is now in the Pac-12. They only have 8 conference games. Remember, it's only a 9-team conference in football, so you can only have a max of 8 conference games unless you wanted to replay an opponent, but that would probably mess a lot of things up, so just standings-wise and everything, tiebreaker-wise and everything. So they're always going to have, as the Pac-12 currently constructed, they're always going to have only an 8-game conference schedule. So in theory, it should actually be significantly easier for them to schedule Oregon. Like there's really no excuse. Like UTEP and Montana are on their schedule next year. You could easily boot one of those out. Now, my thoughts are, in addition to that, it sounds like it will resume in 2028 and maybe run through 2031. That is what Scott Barnes said was getting at when he said we're close to a 4-year series that we're going to be announcing. So I imagine there's going to be some kind of PR statement this spring that says the Civil War's back on from 2028 through 2031. This will be the first time since 1944 in the 128-game series that Oregon and Oregon State will not play each other this year. First time since 44. It's such a bummer, man. We already knew it was happening this year, but we didn't know it was going to happen next year as well. Just a massive bummer for everyone in Oregon who grew up with this rivalry. Obviously I've been around it for multiple decades now, but people much older than me have been around it for a long, long time. And it's really... I think it was Bill Orem who put it in the Oregonian. It says Oregonian as Marionberry Pie. It's Haystack Rock, man. It's the game that means so much to all of us, and it's just a bummer that it's not going to get played. Now, I was talking with my buddy Marcus Greaves, shout out Marcus, former Oregon State running back who now lives in the Atlanta area, and I was like, does Oregon State just not want to play this game? Because to me, that's what this all feels like, is Oregon State doesn't want to play this game. Remember when Mike Gundy went full Mike Gundy and was like, oh, Oklahoma, you're moving to the SEC? Yeah, we're just not going to play anymore. See ya. And Bedlam, the 120-plus year rivalry, just ended, basically. I hope they can bring it back, and I think there are talks of that. But Oklahoma State was like, yeah, we're good. Screw you guys if you're leaving us behind. And it does feel like Oregon State feels that way. However, I'll also say, like, yes, it feels like, Oregon State's being left behind, but I think they also don't want to play the game because there's such a massive spending disparity and therefore talent disparity right now between the two schools. Like, how could you blame Oregon State? And this is what Marcus told me. I think it's a good point. If Oregon State is not going to spend to the level that Oregon is because they don't have Uncle Phil's checkbook, which is, obviously true, you can't even blame them for not wanting to play the game because they don't want to get blown out. Like, the last game was 41-7. I mean, Oregon's beaten Oregon State by 20, 30, 40 points consistently in the last decade. Like, it's been a one-way street besides, like, the Jonathan Smith game when he beat Dan in Dan's first year and Mark Helfrich's last season. Besides that, I mean, it has been a thoroughly dominant game rivalry in favor of the Oregon Ducks. That being said, like, with Oregon State, I don't blame them for not wanting to play the game because there's such a talent disparity right now. They don't want to just schedule another blowout. Like, what if they started the year with Houston, Tech, and then Oregon next year, and they were just blown out for the first 3 games? Like, remember how big of a disaster this season was for the Beavers? Like, dude, what did they finish? 2-10? I mean, it was just like they lost to Sam Houston at home, which, by the way, Sam Houston was a 2-win team this year. That was like an all-time low point for the program. And again, fire your coach halfway through, no conference to speak of, etc. Like, I get it, but now they have a lot more stability in the Pac-12. But I think, to me, postponing the Civil War and Scott Barnes telling the Oregonian like it was on our side, basically acknowledging like Oregon wanted to play, we didn't. Like, I think that basically says that Oregon State just doesn't want to play the game anymore. Now, I think they know that it's important to their fans. I think anything's possible in sports, so maybe Oregon has a really bad year and Oregon State has the best year of their life and they're able to upset Oregon. But with the current NIL structure, that's what really messed us all up, right? Like, we all remember the epic rivalry games throughout the early 2000s, mid-2000s, late 2000s, the Civil War for the Roses in 2009, pre-NIL spending, talent was much more equal, the games were amazing. Like, I think the Civil War peaked in 2009 when it was the Civil War for the Roses, Mariota, truck sticks, was it Lance Mitchell, the name of the DB, at Autzen, and Oregon barely wins. LeGarrette Blount comes back, and LaMichael busts a long touchdown run, but Oregon State plays great with Jaquiz Rogers and James Rogers, and who they have, Canfield at quarterback, I think. Like, that was probably peak Civil War, and god damn, it was amazing stuff, wasn't it? I mean, that was sensational stuff. I don't think as long as the NIL era is there as it's currently constructed, we'll ever get back to that. And I do think that Oregon wants to play the game. Dan Lanning has constantly said publicly he wants to play the game. I think that Oregon State just doesn't want to play the game. And from an Oregon perspective, man, I hate that. And it's not anyone's fault. It's the NIL era. It's one side has a ton of talent, the other side doesn't. I remember last year when, like the week leading up to the Civil War last year, I was listening to some sports talk radio and just reading Twitter and stuff. And like a lot of people on the Oregon State side and just in general just didn't seem excited about it. They're like, what's the point of playing this game? I want to say my buddy Nick Krupke at Fox 12 took a vacation day that day. He literally didn't even cover the game. Like, can you imagine? And Nick Krupke is one of the best sports reporters in Oregon. Can you imagine being like, yeah, like I'm good. We don't need to cover the Civil War for football. That was until the NIL era started. That was the biggest sporting event in the history of the state every single year, barring like the Blazers making the finals. Every single year, that was the biggest sporting event in the state. And now it's like, we're good. We don't even need to cover it. Like Fox 12, Nick Krupke, great sports reporter in Oregon, been there for over a decade, didn't even care to cover the game. Like, that to me is wild, but it also says how people feel about the game right now. To me, personally, I still think it's an incredibly important game for the state. I really do. I understand the talent's out of whack in large part due to the NIL. I understand that. I think from an Oregon State perspective, I certainly understand where they're coming from. Like, dude, we don't want our best players to see this game and then leave for Oregon. Atticus, Sappington, and others. Like, we don't want our guys to get blown out by our in-state rival every single year and then just leave after a year, you know, even though college football is totally just a one-year sport at this point anyway, or all roster management's year to year. But I just feel like, I don't know, man, I just feel like it's going to be really tough to maintain the rivalry as it currently stands, and I don't even blame Oregon State for it. I think it's the fault of the NIL era and not much else, but I do know that Dan Lanning wants to keep playing the game, that Oregon wants to keep playing the game. My only proposed solution would be, what if Oregon just pays Oregon State $1 million every year? Like, what if Oregon comes out and they say, or they don't even have to say it publicly, I guess, like, just to keep this game going, like Oregon State, instead of you guys buying Montana, you know, for $800,000 or however much that costs Oregon State to get Montana to come through, like, we will pay you $1 million every year, home or away, and we'll play the game. I feel like that'd be a good way to do it, because I know that Oregon State, you know, the NIL deal at the Pac-12, the TV rights deal with the Pac-12 is, I want to say like $6 million a year per school, which is nothing. I'll look that up and double check that, but it's not much, like certainly in comparison, obviously, to the Big Ten. If Oregon offers to just pay $1 million every year to play the game, like, I would do that if you're Oregon State. You know, at some point you might be like, like we're going to get blown out again. But we all know how much this rivalry game means. Like, if Oregon State was hosting Oregon this year, place would sell out. Reeser would absolutely sell out. Like, we know it. Oregon State fans still go hard as hell for their Beavs. Been a really tough run here since Jonathan Smith left, but they still go hard as hell for their beeves. Like, I think if Oregon pulled up, especially if Oregon had a lot on the line, like Big Ten title on the line or college football playoff berth on the line, or I guess the game would be played in September, so maybe that wouldn't. That's true. That knocks it down. But I still feel like it'd be awesome. Like, yes, it's weird that it was played early in the season this year. It's gonna take some getting used to, but I don't know, man. To me, I would still play it, and I think the only solution that I can think of right now, anyway, if Oregon State doesn't want to play it, because I don't even blame them for the whole talent disparity blowout situation. Like, what about it if Oregon pays them $1 million or $2 million a year, helps their athletic department? They get to host the game every other year, obviously. That helps ticket sales, local economy, donor money, etc. Like, you get all your best donors a box for the Oregon game. Again, I know it's probably going to be a blowout, but still cool. And I don't know. That would be my proposed solution, like trying to be solution-oriented here. That's what I would say. But I don't blame Oregon State. It doesn't mean I have to like it. It doesn't mean I don't want the game to happen. I certainly want the game to happen, and hope it resumes in 2028 for the rest of time. I'm not one of those people out there who says cancel the game forever. Like a lot of curmudgeons seem to be like, cancel the game forever. The whole talent disparity. I'm not in that crowd, man. I know how much it means to the state and these people, and hopefully it can resume in 28 and go on forever. Okay, and finally, Curt Cignetti continuing to get paid. He has re-upped his contract, which he signed in October, by the way, contract extension through the 2033 season. He will now be paid an annual average amount of $13.2 million, which is among the very best in the country. His salary goes up from $11.6 to $13.2. The length did not increase. He originally signed that extension through 2033. Also kind of interesting nugget from the contract, according to ESPN.com. It included a, quote, good faith market review that activated if the Hoosiers reached the college football playoff semifinal. Obviously, they went ahead and won that natty, so they certainly reached that. It required sides to meet within 120 days after the CFP semis and adjust Cignetti's salary to rank no less than third among active head coaches, according to the terms. So basically, if you reach at least the semis, you're going to be top 3 paid. Kirby Smart and Lane Kiffin also right in the $13 million range, so that's right where Cignetti is as well. 27-2 at Indiana, first natty ever, obviously in 2025, first outright Big Ten title since the 40s. He's 64, and they also inked their top assistants, Mike Shanahan, the OC, and Bryant Haynes, the DC, to extensions as well. I love it, and he's still underpaid, and I also think it's going to be interesting to see if he can keep this up, because he does have the old, certainly has nowhere near the Brian Kelly vibe, but he has the Brian Kelly, Jimbo Fisher contract where it's like, all right, you have a mega deal for basically the next, what would that be, like 8 seasons, and if we fire you, we owe you basically all of the contract, and so what's the incentive here for the next 8 seasons? Like, does Cignetti actually make it all the way through 2033? Who knows? That's a long time from now. It's newly 2026. But I do love that in this day and age, Cignetti's staying in Indiana, man. He's staying in Indiana. He doesn't look like he's going anywhere. Like, he's getting paid among the very best in the sport. They don't think they had a ton of NIL money in comparison to others this year, but they probably will moving forward, especially now that Mark Cuban and other folks are all in, and Indiana has this giant donor base. So, dude, Indiana football's here to stay. I mean, obviously, I think Mendoza was that special. Like, when you look back on this Indiana season, it's like, how do they do it? Obviously, great coaching, obviously great receivers, great linebackers, great D linemen, great secondary. But I think Mendoza was just that special. That being said, they made the playoff with Curtis Rourke last year and only lost 2 games. So Josh Hoover, coming over from TCU, very experienced player. I don't see why they can't win the national title with him. I have that much respect for Cignetti. I was also reading an article that was interesting. It basically revealed the top or the starting quarterbacks for the last national title teams from 2019 through the present day. I don't think I'm going to remember them all off the top of my head, but obviously in 18, Trevor Lawrence won with Clemson as a true freshman, which was just insane. I remember that game in Santa Clara, them completely murdering Alabama when T-Law was a true freshman. I remember being like, dude, and he played incredible in that game. Obviously, Tua throws the pick six, but T-Law still plays great, and I was like, dude, this guy is just the next Peyton Manning. Like, there's no way he's not the next Peyton Manning after doing this to Alabama as a true freshman, and he could still be great. He had a really good season in the NFL this year. Barely lost at home to the Bills. Like, I think T-Law could be great. Obviously, it was rocky start with Urban and just getting drafted to the Jags. That'll happen when you get drafted to the Jags. There's not a lot of institutional greatness around you, if you will, but it does seem like T-Law could end up having a really, really good pro career still. But anyways, my point is, going back to that article, it listed the national title winning quarterbacks. So in recent years, you have obviously Mendoza, you have Will Howard, you have J.J. McCarthy, you have Stetson Bennett, and then you had Joe Burrow, and Mac Jones. So and those guys were all, other than J.J. McCarthy, who was in his third year in college football, every single one of those other quarterbacks were in at least their fourth year in college football, as Hoover will be this upcoming season, at least his fourth year, maybe his fifth year. But Stetson Bennett, it was like fifth and sixth year. Joe Burrow, fifth year. Will Howard, fifth year. All these guys were like fourth, fifth, sixth year guys, and that's the Cignetti method, man. He's got it down, and I think all these other programs understand that now. It's like it's all about getting the veteran quarterback, and I'll look up Josh Hoover. I want to say he's going to be 22. He already is 22. He'll be 23 next year. Josh Hoover will be. So yeah, that's the method, man. You want, like, we saw how bad it was for Dante Moore in the playoffs this year. It was really bad, but he's really young. He was 20, right? So Josh Hoover 23 next year. Mendoza will be 23. That's the method, man. Anyways, I'm happy for Sig, man. Really happy for Sig. Definitely deserves it. And he's not going anywhere. I don't think there's a ton else to say other than, like, he is pretty clearly the best coach in college football. I don't think there's any way to deny that now. Like, who would you rather have than Curt Cignetti? No one. I mean, obviously you'd be happy to have Kirby Smart. You'd be happy to have Dan Lanning. You'd be, I think, happy to have Lane Kiffin. Even that's still like a little bit of a mystery. He was obviously incredible at Ole Miss. But, yeah, man. I mean, Sig is the best coach in the sport. And I also think that, moving forward, because he's 64, like, what does that mean for his motivation? It still seems plenty motivated to me, right? I mean, he took a long, winding road to get to where he is, and it seems like he'll still be extremely motivated. He's a process-oriented guy, and I think if he ever caught himself slipping in terms of his own desire or intensity or preparation, he'd probably retire before he ever got fired. So Indiana's set, man. The next 5, 6, 7, 8 years, Indiana's going to be one of the very best programs in the sport. All right, thank you all so much for listening, and we will see you next time.